Off the Cuff e-Zine, an online magazine that is given out freely. The wide range of promotional is unlimited. We take pride in bringing it all together for you. And we recognize that it is hard to reach a lot of people by just having a website, or even those writers that do not have the means to advertise or have a website. This website will provide its free services of advertising and giving others a platform to share their experiences, skills, and ability. For we believe that it is through others we learn not only of others but of ourselves as well. So, if you need a chat room to hold sessions, we can provide that with audio and video for classes, workshops, or just single sessions. Contact us to see what we can provide with our special features and promotional experience. And it is all free. Yes, free. Join us and meet other like-minded people, because that is what makes OTC the place to be. OffTheCuffEZine.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Surprise Your Spirit Show. I am your host, Kendra Walbaum, all the way from Saskatchewan, Canada. And we have some wonderful, wonderful guests for you this evening. And we are going to share some stories of personal journeys, personal spiritual journeys that have brought on growth. I have one young lady, Andrea, who has stepped into her spiritual gifts actually just recently in the past year and a half. And so we will talk to her coming up here shortly. And then I have another young woman, Bettina, who has made great strides in 2 years and a lot of personal growth. And then I have another beauty, Miss Nikki, who, while her whole life has changed just from following her joy. So basically, Andrea is the only one practicing spiritual gifts at this point in time, but Bettina and Nikki are learning and working on purpose, but also making great shifts in their own lives and using what they know energy-wise to help aid them on their journeys. And so I just thought it would be really great for everyone who tunes in to hear some real personal stories and journeys instead of just listen to that annoying lady who likes to talk a lot on the radio. And then you guys can get a sense of feel for where you're at and hear some real stories of others and find out, how uncomfortable it is, but what the rewards and the gains are for stepping into a different side of themselves and allowing themselves to get in touch with more of who they are. Now, I'm not going to tell too much about my guests when they come on. I'm going to ask them some questions so they can tell you about themselves. And we'll just have a little bit of discussion with them about their journeys. And I'll ask some questions and we'll have a little bit of chit chat. But I am going to tell you that Nikki and Bettina have become close personal friends. I actually reached out for someone at the beginning of their journey, and Andrea so kindly messaged me and kindly volunteered, and she ended up saying, give me a quick call, and we chatted for more than the 5-minute thought we had. And I'm sure Andrea and I are going to become good friends because of this, especially since I have now relocated and I am in her area. And so I'm just going to actually bring Andrea in and we'll get started and we'll just see how time goes and we will have a break on the half hour and we will catch up from there. So, welcome, Andrea.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. I'm super excited about this. So, I would like you to tell the guests a little bit about yourself. You know what? Before we get into the spiritual journey stuff, Andrea, give me a brief rundown on what your life was like before you started to explore the more spiritual side of you.
Okay, so I grew up in a Roman Catholic household, very strict Roman Catholic household. We didn't talk about spirit. We didn't talk about anything like that. I was very black and white. I had a couple of businesses. I was a pretty hardcore businesswoman. I didn't really have time for anything. I didn't meditate. I wasn't into yoga. I wasn't into anything like that at all. And
so life came before you did.
Yes, and of course, I mean, I have a child. So you're a business owner. You're a wife. You're a mother. You're everything else, but you.
You followed life, and life didn't follow you.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so now with that, that's just something that I really want you guys as listeners to recognize. Andrea was following life. Life wasn't following her. And when we're living in a place of ease, life follows you. You don't follow it. So, because you create your own journey. So, can you tell me what prompted you to explore your spirituality more, Andrea? Like, prompted you to dig deeper on that path?
This feels like I'm coming out of the closet, but literally one day I just started seeing dead people. That's really how it all started. And I hid it for months and months. Didn't tell anybody, thought I was going crazy. And then I finally talked to my husband about it and explained what was going on. And that's what prompted me on my journey. It was a major kick from the universe to say, get your head on straight.
Exactly. And that's what the universe will do, just for all the listeners out there. If you get too far off the beaten path, the universe comes in and shakes things up for you when you're not doing what you're meant to be doing here. So when you told your husband that this was happening, what was his reaction?
Well, in the beginning, I wasn't, he was always very understanding. I never said like, okay, we're taking you over to the crazy center or anything. But I don't think he realized how much it was affecting me until he started actually being with me during a couple of instances that couldn't be explained away. And then he started to understand. Still doesn't understand sometimes, but still always very understanding, supports me.
So would you say he's not necessarily understanding, but he's very accepting?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. And that's just something that I like to tell, all the listeners out there is you will never understand someone else's journey. You can try in order to empathize, but you'll never understand it. It's more importantly, you make a choice on whether or not you choose to accept it or not. So, yeah. Okay. So can you know what, Andrea, will you tell the callers how old you are?
I'm 43.
Interesting. So with having told your husband, what did you do next? Like what step did you take? Because obviously, and I mean, I know personally, it's overwhelming when you really need to start to face the reality of some of the abilities that you've been gifted with. So where did you go? Like, how did you find help? Where did you look? How did you seek that out?
You know what? That was honestly my biggest, where I live, it's not that big of a center. I wasn't in the community. Like I said, I didn't do yoga. I didn't meditate. I didn't do any of that stuff. So I really wasn't sure where to go or who to talk to without sounding like I was a crazy person. And so I walked into it was a shop that sold crystals and cards, and there was a psychic there, and I walked around for about an hour, and the lady behind the till kept asking me, "Do you need help?" And I'm like, "No." "Do you need help?" And I'm like, "Nope." And I was like, because I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know if I should. I didn't want to be like, okay. So finally, the psychic came out, and she looked at me. She's like, "Oh my God, come over here, girl." And so I went and had like a 10-minute conversation with her, and I bought some stuff to smudge the house, and a few little things, and then that's basically the first step I took. And the next step I took was believing that spirit is energy and spirit is vibration. So I took Reiki, hoping that getting Reiki would give me some sort of control over, because I had no control over spirit coming in and out of my house. It was like a revolving door. Like I would have something that would follow me for days and really drive me crazy. And at the time, I didn't know what to do with myself. So I was hoping that Reiki would give me that control.
Some tools to learn that balance.
Yes.
Okay. I just don't like the word control, because we really can't control the universe, right? But we can balance what it gives us.
Yes. I just didn't want to end up like Whoopi Goldberg on that movie Ghost.
So is it fair to so in this journey, is it fair to say that you were the hardest judge? Where you were the biggest critic on yourself? Like, your husband was more accepting than you thought he was. Going into the spiritual store was, turned out to be easier than you thought it was. Like, every step of the way, the universe guided you, and it was okay. Like, you were safe.
I honestly, I hid it for a long time because it's just the way I grew up, and we weren't open like that. But when I took my first Reiki course, I really, honestly, and when I had my first attunement, I ugly cried. It was like everything that I had ever held in and just came out, and it was so releasing and so wonderful, and it felt so natural. And I finally now feel, even though I'm still learning, I finally feel like I'm being my true self.
Okay.
Which is scary.
So and how long have you been on this journey, Andrea?
I took my first Reiki course in November of 2015. So not very long.
Interesting. Now, can you tell me what the hardest thing about exploring this side of yourself was? Or is and continues to be?
Yeah, I honestly think that the hardest thing to be is just to be you, not to have the label of a wife or a teacher or a mother or whatever. Because when you're standing in front of somebody and you're telling them that you can talk to the other side and these are the things that you can do, you're really stripping away all the layers and letting them see the true you. And it's really scary because a lot of people aren't accepting of it. But it's lovely.
Is that really true, though? They're not accepting of it? Or is it because they're fearful of it? Do you know what I mean?
It's so. Yeah. I think like TV and media has made it always made it scary instead of it being such a loving. I've never felt only in the beginning when I didn't know what the heck was going on, right? Suddenly when somebody's pulling your leg in the night, it's like, okay, what the heck? But I mean, that was like the only way that they obviously really wanted my attention, and I just didn't know what to do. But I firmly believe that all spirit comes from love and light, and there's never anything to ever be worried about, as long as you're true to yourself and ask for what's for your highest good and the highest good of the people around you. But the big thing is, it's different. It's not everybody does this. So when you come out and say that you're a medium, or you come out and say that you can do these things, it's kind of scary because before this wasn't me at all. Like 3 years ago, I never would have even said, I would have laughed at you if you said, so you meditate every day? I would have been, no, I don't have time for that. Like, no, I don't know. And now, I'm setting more time for myself. I think I'm actually a much nicer person than I used to be. I'm a much more calm person than I used to be.
Isn't it interesting how that happens?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't even realize that life can be peaceful until you really start to be who you truly are.
Yes.
So another question that I have for you is, and now I just blanked. Interesting. Maybe I'm not supposed to ask you. Oh, I remember. You were saying that you truly believe that, energy is all from love and light, but are you aware that there are energies that aren't of love and light? Like, do you truly believe they're all of love and light?
I believe that people on Earth, like human people on Earth, contribute to the negative factors. Like, it's like if two people were in a room and they were like having this like nasty fight and they walked out of the room and like I walked into the room, I would feel the leftover negativity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I feel kind of like that way where people contribute to the negativity in the world, and the more people that are negative, and it's scary because the train of thought that you get into this negative like whirlpool, and it just drags you down, and then suddenly you're yelling at your husband or you're yelling at your kids, and then everybody in the house is like feeling negative, right? Because you're negative and you're just spreading it along. So just
I the reason I'm asking is because I personally deal with entities a lot. Like, it's a lot of the calls that I get. So there is negative energy, but how I teach people is, I'm just wondering, like, if you found this along your way. Like, I know you're quite early in. So, and I mean, everybody has their own beliefs on their own journey to what melds with them, and that's perfectly okay. I just know that it is there because, just like in reality, good comes with the bad, right? So when you open up to the world of energy, good comes with the bad. You don't get control over that, but you can feed.
Yes.
Like my saying is, your reality grows where your energy flows. So if you're feeding the energy of positive, that's where that protection comes in too, right? So feeding that positive energy actually surrounds you in layers and layers of positive energy as protection, so those negative energies don't feel so forceful to you.
I have had to learn actually to ground myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned through what has just come up lately, another gift that has been dropped in is I've become an empath. And that's been very interesting. So I've had to learn to do more protection type stuff just to save my sanity from just everything floating around. Like one second I would feel like I was a rock star, and the next second I wanted to jump off the bridge, and the next second I would be crying, and the next second I'd be like the happiest I've ever been in my whole entire life. And it's like, oh my God, like how many personalities do I have today? Like, geez. But then realizing then in the beginning, I thought that I was going through a kind of almost like a manic depression, because like one second I was like super high, and then I was super low, and then I didn't feel with myself. And then, so that was the hardest thing actually, was picking my emotions out of I was picking up off other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Learning how to filter what belongs to me and what belongs to other people. Yeah. Oh yes, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So the one question that I want to ask you before I let you go, Andrea, is how did this affect relationships that you had, and how is it changing relationships moving forward? Did you lose people? And when you gain people, what are the dynamics of those new relationships, I guess is my question.
Yeah, I actually lost a couple of people who had been in my life for a very long time. They just don't get me. anymore. The easiest way to say. I find myself being very selective who I spend time with. I don't want to spend time with just anybody because I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't want to talk about whatever. I want to talk about what makes them tick, about what, like the juicy stuff in life. I don't want to talk about the fluff anymore. And I don't, I hate, I can't say I hate. I dislike being around negative people. People who have negative energy just drive me absolutely batty. Where in my old life, lots of times if I was in the mood, I would fight with my husband just to fight with him because I could pick his butt. And now I can't even stand fighting with him because the negative energy makes me feel so bad that I can't stand it.
It's very painful.
It is super painful. And so the people that I choose to, who I relate better now with, almost seems cliquey, but people who are in the same mindset as me, because they understand when I say, oh my God, I had such a bad day the other day. Like, I had a migraine because of something, and they get me. Where if I would have said that to one of the people that knew me beforehand, I would have to go into like a whole hour explanation of why I got the migraine, why this happened, why that happened. And they lots of times would be like, okay, all right, pat on the head, and all right.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I got a lot of that in the beginning. I pat on the head, and then the raised eyebrows and the okay.
Oh, I hear you. I've been there, like totally been there. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. And I hope that people, you know what? Actually, before I let you go, Andrea, I want you to tell the listeners, if you could give them one piece of advice, whether they're stepping into spiritual abilities or they're just starting to search their soul for who they are and starting to shine more of who they are, whether it's using spiritual abilities or not. What's one thing that one piece of advice or one words of encouragement that you would like to give them?
I would say if you number one, follow your heart, follow your intuition, because it will never steer you wrong. And if you need help, ask for it, because I hid it for so long. I hid it and I was ashamed and I didn't know what to do with it. And so don't do that. You don't have to. Look on Facebook now, look on the internet, walk into one of those stores that I was talking about that sell crystals and cards and things like that, because 95% of the time they are spiritual people. And if they can't help you, maybe they know somebody who will. And because life doesn't have to be hard, any harder than it is. Make your life joyful, make your life peaceful. And I think once you find peace, everything else comes, That would be my biggest thing, is ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
It is. And thank you so much for all your time, Andrea. And I'm sure we're going to connect more often. And enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. All right. So that was our first guest, Andrea. I'm going to invite Bettina in. She will talk a little bit about herself. We'll probably have a break in a bit and then bring her back, possibly. So Bettina, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kendra. So good to talk to you.
Oh, yay. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about you. We're not here to talk about me.
Oh, fun.
I know, right? Okay. So, Bettina, would you tell the callers how old you are, please?
I am 21 years old.
The callers. I'm calling you guys the callers. You're actually the listeners.
Yeah.
So Bettina's 21, so that's a pretty young age, for anyone where you're going through a lot of transitions, a lot of choices, and those sorts of things. So, Bettina, I just want you to be honest and allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable, but what prompted you to start exploring the world of energy and exploring your own personal growth?
Okay. Well, I don't really know where to start, but the most significant point was probably when I met you. I feel like you were put in my path to start to help me look into my more spiritual side, I guess you could say. I always had some spiritual beliefs instilled in me kind of growing up. I would say my dad is quite spiritual and my mom more so now. I've realized she is as well. So I think it was kind of always a part of our family, but not something we always talked about. And then I've had some, when I was growing up, lots of, like, my grandma passed away when I was very young. And I had moments in my life, more so dreams, I guess you could say, like when I was sleeping, where she would come in and kind of play a part. So I always believed that there were spirits out there as well, and that there was a higher power for sure. So I kind of had those beliefs already. And then after high school, I went to X-ray school. And during X-ray school, near the second year for sure, I was really stressed out and in a pretty bad place. I was very emotional and always kind of upset. And lots of people that know me would say I'm a pretty happy person. So in that moment, I realized how unhappy I was. And I was hoping once school was kind of done and I got my job under me and that stress was away, that I would start to have more happiness in my life again and kind of feel like I was the person I was before. And then I met you. So, I don't know, some of the conversations we had were very, like, refreshing to have, that's for sure. Because we talked a lot about, like, different beliefs and stuff like that. And I found another person who kind of had the same aspects in life as me and were, like, drawn to the same things and just helped further affirm some of my beliefs in the spiritual world.
Okay. So basically, are you telling the listeners that meeting me is what prompted you to explore that more?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I guess either you guys want to, for the listeners out there, either you want to meet me or you don't want to meet me. I'm not really sure. You're going to have to decide. Okay, can you tell the listeners what's changed in your life since you've started to explore this? What's shifted for you?
Mostly, well, a lot of my perspectives have changed. I would say that I have more of an understanding kind of on energies now in life in general. And sometimes I can be a little more empathic of other people when they're not coming from like a very nice place. Sometimes I can try to shift my focus instead of it being on me and what they're doing to me. And be like, oh, they're just fearful or they're going through something really hard in their life and now they're projecting it onto me. And it's more of a reflection of them and it's not a reflection of myself. Because I used to put a lot of, I think, other people's negativity on myself and would be sad and think, oh, like, what could I have done better? Like, how do I make myself better? And some of those weren't my problem. And I was taking on a lot of other people's negativities. So that's definitely changed. My relationships too have changed. I've made some great new friends. And even, well, me and my boyfriend have had a little bit of a rough patch in the last little while, but we're at a really, really good place now. And I feel like I'm starting to actually show more of who I truly am because I changed very fast over the past even year and a half, 2 years. And it was a speedy change. So I think the people in my life didn't really know how to take it and know what to do. They didn't really know who I was anymore.
Yeah, and that can definitely be hard. Can you talk a little bit more about that, Bettina? Like, what sorts of things did you encounter from, people that you loved, about you having changed so fast and almost appearing to them as a different person? Can you talk a little bit about that? And just so that people who are out there can understand that these things will happen, and how did you handle them?
So one of the one that sticks out like the most to me was lots of people would tell me that I was brainwashed, that, I guess certain people in my life were telling me things and making me decide to do things that essentially they would say was brainwashed. I can't think of a better word than that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was hard because I had to look them in the face and be like, no, I'm not brainwashed. Like, I am actually probably like the most happiest I've been in a long time. And I'm seeing things clearly. Like, everything's opened up, and I can see life now more clearly and what I want from life.
Okay.
And so that was really tough because I had to look back at them and say, no, I'm not brainwashed, and nobody's making the choices for me except for me now. Before, I was actually making choices for everybody else in my life, but now I'm actually doing it for myself. So I guess standing up for myself was really hard and saying, no, like, this is me, and this is who I want to be, and this is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah. And like, it's setting those boundaries, right? Like, I don't live my life your way, and that's okay because I still love you. And that part of me hasn't changed. Just what I'm choosing to do on a daily basis and who I'm choosing to interact with and the things I'm choosing to add to my life have changed because all of those other things were other people's things that they did. They weren't mine.
Exactly. And to some of my family and everything would be like, oh, well, your friends are weird or whatever they wanted to say about them. And I'd have to stop and say, like, they're very, very nice people, and they're the best group of friends I've ever had. They treat me really good. They're always there to support me no matter what. They don't judge me for anything that I do, whether it be good or bad. And they're always there to have my back, which is very nice because I haven't had such a good set of people in my life for a long time. So I guess, yeah, standing up and saying, no, this is what I want, and these are great things. And you just have to look at it from a different place, I guess, but almost more so asking for acceptance, I guess. Because I never expected anyone to understand my changes, but more just accept me for who I am now so that they can still be a part of my life and bring me joy.
Okay, that sounds fabulous. We're going to go for a break, and then we will bring Bettina back shortly after this. So we will catch you guys just on the other side of the break.
I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they've forgiven my mistakes. I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
Oh, I needed Kendra to live in my basement. Come on, I feel ya.
Well, Nikki, we're live.
Oh,
That's Nikki, guys. She
back
talks
to
all the
Bettina.
time. So, welcome back, everyone. Live on the air, having all the bloopers. That's the way it rolls. I'm just going to bring back Bettina in, but before I do that, I'm just going to tell any callers that is on my mind today. Obviously, I need to do a show that takes calls. All the listeners that our show topic tonight is I've had 3 different women at different stages in their spiritual journey sharing their stories just to give listeners an idea of things that happened and hear other people's stories besides my own, to know that they're not alone out there and there are places to turn. So we were just in the middle of speaking with Bettina before the break, and now we're back, so we'll bring Bettina back in. Hop back in here, Bettina. So, Bettina, we were just talking about, a little bit about the things that had changed in relationships, and the biggest thing for you was standing up for yourself and telling people that they needed to, kind of mind their own business in a loving way, that you needed to be you and that you're actually happy because you had felt that you were being accused a lot of the time of being brainwashed.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, family, and I say this all the time, family is some of the most toxic people, and it's so true. They can be, but if you learn to put those boundaries up, you teach them how to treat you. So that's a big thing. And I've watched you grow into this, so I know that it was a very tough thing for you to do, but I also know what it brought you on the other side and the kind of person that you are because of it. Another thing that I want to ask you about, can you tell me, did we talk about the hardest thing for you?
No, I don't think we did. Just off the top of my head, I think the hardest thing now, because once I stopped putting other people's pressures on me, I kind of stopped and looked at myself and looked at what I wanted to improve on in myself. And it was my self-confidence, which I had struggled with for a long time. And still a work in progress, but I feel like I've come leaps and bounds from where I was, and that I'm starting to love myself more, my mind, my body, and just really being more open to receiving, I guess, lovely people in my life too, because I feel like if I love myself, I can start to attract better things in my life, and I can't expect anyone to love me very much if I don't love myself. So I think that's been the hardest part for me, is really opening that door and trying to improve on my self-confidence.
Interesting. So it's not really confidence that you lacked, but it's the self-love.
Yes.
So you just weren't putting yourself out there. You weren't showing the true you because there just wasn't enough self-love there.
No, and I wasn't taking enough time for myself either. I would always just be on the go, very busy with life, putting, I guess you could say again, life ahead of myself, and would just keep going on my routine, going to work, doing my activities, making supper, cleaning up, watching some TV, going to bed, and I wasn't taking time to really, I guess, recharge myself and refresh myself. So I started exercising a lot more again, and I found that was a very good release for me. And I also started meditating as well.
I've watched you grow over the past 2 years, and it's been amazing growth. And I know that amazing things, are to come for you, and especially for someone who's 21 years old. Just to, have really good boundaries and just be so accepting of others and not tainted by society's judgments is amazing to me. And I want you to know how proud I am of you and for how far you've come along. And the next time I see you, I will give you the biggest hug ever. And thank you so much for coming on my show with me and being my guest and sharing so intimately with the listeners, things that you experienced so that they can know they're not alone. And if you can leave the listeners with one thing that you would like to say to them before I let you go, what would you have to tell them?
I think I would say to always strive to be your best self, no matter who's trying to bring you down. Always keep pushing. Always try to let your light shine and just be you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, my dear girl.
Thanks for having
We'll talk soon. You're so welcome.
Okay, bye.
Bye. So that was Bettina's story. We're just going to carry on here because I would like to get through Nikki's story. And so I'm going to welcome Nikki to the show. Welcome, Nikki.
Hey, Kendra, thanks so much for having me on your show. I'm super, super excited.
Okay, mine and yours dialogue is going to go a little bit differently just because I specifically asked you on the show for a reason. And
perfect.
I just for all the listeners out there, I sent her a list of questions so she could prepare, but that just went out the window, and I warned her on break that she was getting thrown under the bus. So,
and she wasn't lying.
Yeah, she kind of, sort of. I'm really not going to throw her under the bus. I'm going to push her in front of the bus, but the bus has no gas in it, and it's not going anywhere, so she won't get hurt. So, Nikki, can you tell the listeners how old you are?
I'm 31.
31. Yeah, and so I specifically ask people of all different ages so that all you listeners out there can see that this can happen at any point in your life. You don't need to wait to start working. Now, Nikki, with you, okay, first of all, I think you need to share your experience quite briefly, as best as you can, about how you met me and what happened when you met me, what you thought of me, and then we'll go from there. But keep your mouth clean.
I can do that. So when I met Kendra, I had recently finished X-ray school and moved to Melville. I had started working in Yorkton. I wasn't quite getting enough hours, so I took a job in Melville. So Kendra had worked in Melville for many years before I got there. And on my first day of working with her, we had, I don't know, like I spilled my life story. I spilled my guts to someone I didn't know. And she had talked about, some spiritual things and your angel team and your spirit team and all of these different parts of her journey and different things that we could fill you in on any time. I went home that night and I looked at my then partner and I said, I work with this crazy girl. Like, I think she's crazy, but we're going to be friends because I really like her. and so that's really where it all goes down. I mean, it only gets better from there. So
the other side to that story is just for the listeners out there is because I want you to know what it's like to be me and how you have to learn to let things roll off your back. Because I already knew, I could feel that Nikki already thought this about me, but Nikki was a good people pleaser when I met her. So I knew that I had a lot of work to do with her. So she would have never intentionally said anything to hurt my feelings, but when she was walking away, she was just like, man, that girl forgot to take her meds today. And so it was about, I was almost close to being done in that facility working there, and I shortly after that left and moved to another facility where Nikki also continued to work, but we didn't see each other very often. And it was a month or two later we had ended up working on the same shift together, and she just straight up told me to my face, like, I totally thought you were crazy. But then I realized I spilled my guts to a stranger, and that made me crazy too, so I knew we would be good friends. And so people say those things to me all the time, and I'm used to them, but they don't bother me. I just let them roll off my back. And so anyways, and the reason I wanted Nikki to join us on our show because I've only known Nikki for a couple of years, and her life has done a 360, and I'm going to let her tell you about that. So Nikki, I'm going to give you the floor for 7 minutes to explain where your life was 2 years ago, to how you utilized the knowledge that I had, or those sorts of things, to how it helped you to move and shift and change to where you're at now. Make sense?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
I got it. So 2 years ago, I had just finished X-ray school. I had been dating someone for a couple of years, and I had spent my entire life previous to this taking care of everyone else besides for myself. And so I had moved out to Melville, and I had started working out here, and I had this, idea and plan of what my life was going to look like. And things really were, when I met Kendra, things really just weren't quite working out the way that I had planned. And I was, really always focused on keeping everyone else happy. And meanwhile, I was dying inside and I wasn't happy. So I met Kendra, and like we had discussed previously, I spilled my guts to her, and she didn't really give me a ton of guidance right away. She pointed out some little things, and that made me really think, but I didn't really think too much of it. When she had started working at a different facility, and I was still working in Melville and Yorkton, and we didn't quite see each other as much. She was living in the same town as me, so we started getting together. I would go to her place in the evenings, and we would visit. I mean, I didn't know anyone else in the town. I'm from a bigger city, and I always wanted to go to an even bigger city, and I had ended up in this really small place. And, and I guess my entire life, I had second-guessed all of my choices and ignored what I knew in my heart was right, because logically they made sense. Logically, every choice I made sense. It made sense to do it this way, and it made sense to stay here, and it made sense to go there. And logically, it was all going to unfold this way because that's the way life happens. And, I was following life. And when I met Kendra, one of the biggest things that she had said to me and kind of has taught me is that you need to follow your joy, and your life is not about making other people happy. It's about making you happy. And when you're happy, everyone around you will be happy. And that, really focusing on keeping yourself happy and healthy is what is going to make everything around you happy and healthy. And so, I had woken up in a small place, and I basically felt like I had woke up in someone else's life. I was living someone else's dream, and it wasn't mine, and I didn't even really want to be a part of it. It wasn't even something that I would have ever been interested in. Not to say that it was a bad place. I mean, it's a great place for people that it's for. And some people love that kind of setting, and that's where their journey takes them, and it makes them happy. That's just not what makes me happy on my journey. And so it's a really hard thing to swallow when you wake up and realize you've spent, a few years of your life living someone else's dream. It's really not something that's easy to handle. And it did cause me a lot of stress and anxiety, and it really caused me to dig deeper into myself, because when you completely lose yourself, you have to find yourself again, and finding yourself is not always the easiest thing to do. So, when I would go to Kendra's house, and we would visit in the evenings, and we would, banter back and forth and discuss life, and she would teach me lesson after lesson after lesson. Never, ever, ever would she tell me what to do. She would just point out things in a way that I wasn't necessarily seeing them. I would only look at things on a superficial level. I had lived my entire life on a superficial level. And so when she would point things out in a different way, or, get me to think about it in a different way, it really got me, I guess, prompted me to consider how I had been living my life, and why I had been making the choices I had been making, and how that's all I ever really had known to do. And so I had was considering making some choices. I was trying to find a balance with everything going on in my life. And Kendra was just very supportive for me in some decisions that I made. I bought a house in a different city than I was living in, behind my partner's back. Wasn't something that I overly discussed with him. Do I necessarily think that was maybe the best way to go about things? No, not always. But at the same time, I know that I was really not happy where I was at, and something had to change. And I was just following my own joy. and trying to find my own happy again. And so I moved into my new house, and it's put it this way, I will never want to repeat 2016. I would rather go back to high school than ever have to live that year again. It's the hardest year of my life. I had guidance from Kendra and a lot of tears shed. I also sought help through some psychotherapy, which taught me, the psychotherapist that I saw came highly recommended from a friend, and it taught me a lot about meditation. And he also taught me, pointed things out in a different way that I maybe hadn't seen them before. And a lot of the things that he did tell me, I would come home and be like, Kendra, Jordan told me the same things that you tell me, but I paid him a lot of money, and you do it for free, because she was one of my very good friends. And, I consulted her with tons of things. And, there was things that I really wanted her to tell me, yes, do that, or don't do that. And she would just say, Nikki, either way, some people I can tell them to make a choice in a specific direction because it's just not going to work one way or the other. But both of your choices will work. One will just be harder than the other. So I can't tell you what choice to make. So here I am being like, this girl's going to guide me and she's going to help me figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do. And she really just threw me in front of the bus, the not moving bus, right? Just like right now. So, through Kendra, I've learned I'm exploring my spiritual side more. I've kind of delved into the angel realms and finding out a little bit more about that. I've really learned to follow my heart and do what makes me happy, whether that means taking an extra day off work, whether that means traveling when nobody thinks I should be traveling, whether that means not spending time with people that I don't want to spend time with, or spending more time with people that I do, no matter what other people think about it. I still struggle with feeling judged and sometimes worrying about what people think, but it's something that I'm working on within myself. And, I'll get past that too. And I've taken up some meditation to try to calm myself. I've cut some people out of my life that, really caused me stress and anxiety. I too have some empathic nature, and I used to think that I was stressed and anxious, but a lot of it I think was just other people's emotions that I was feeling. And, I still have trouble separating what's mine versus what someone else's. And so, I guess the place that I'm in now, I'm working out 5 days a week. I feel my body feels happier and healthier. I've never felt strong physically, mentally, or emotionally before. And I feel strong. I feel like I'm making the right choices for me. I feel like my body's stronger. I feel emotionally I can better handle things that are happening. Mentally, I'm thinking clearer. And, because I'm not following logic anymore. And when my body and my mind tells me this isn't a good idea, I don't do it. Before, I would ignore those feelings and go ahead and do whatever wasn't a good idea because that's what logic told me I should do. Whether it brought me happiness or not wasn't something that I considered. And I remember my cousin and I were having a conversation one day, and she told me like how she had always thought that I was so strong with so many of the things that have happened to me in my life. And I thought, really, you think I'm strong? I don't think I'm strong. But as I dig more into finding out who I really am, instead of worrying about pleasing everyone else and just doing things that make me happy and the things that I want to do, I find that I feel a lot stronger when I'm able to stand up for myself and make the choices that really make me happy. I don't know, Kendra, am I at 7 minutes? Because I could keep talking, but
I know you're over, but I just want to talk about one more thing. I often, when I run workshops, one of the things I tell the people who attend my workshops is, and it's not coming from a place of arrogance or any of that. I do it to warn people that you meeting me and being in my presence is the start of a new life for you. Because people don't understand that I'm an energy healer, and you cross my path to open up a new opportunity and new doors for you. And I just want you to tell them that me meeting you opened that for you, even though you tried to fight it.
Oh, tried to fight it is an understatement.
So
definitely, like when I met you, I didn't even okay, it's not that I didn't believe in this kind of thing, but it hadn't even crossed my path, like, that this was something that was even explorable, or like I didn't even know about it, right? So definitely now, I mean, I look at, you were brought into my life for like a very blatantly obvious reason to, to help me find myself again. I had completely lost myself. And but it's not find myself again because I'm not the same person I've ever been before. Like, I don't feel like I fit into my family. People that have known me for years, like, they don't know how to relate to me anymore. And we can have these conversations, but because I'm not interested in superficial conversation, it becomes hard to relate to people. Like, I feel like I don't fit into any of the previous relationships that I've had, not any of them, but some of them. And I can see how it's really hard for the people around me to support me, because they feel like, who is this person? We don't know her. It's I'm a completely different person. And had Kendra not come into my life, I mean, I don't even want to think of the choices that I would have made, because every choice would have been for someone else, for someone else's happiness. I would be running myself ragged into the ground, worrying about making sure everyone else was taken care of. I mean, I know I would have manifested physical illness. When Kendra came into my life, it opened my eyes to a completely different world and a completely different life that I was completely missing out on. And, as much as some people in my life don't understand, that I've found other people in my life, friends and family, who are very supportive and who do understand and who are actually on the same type of journey as I am. And I just didn't realize it because I was so closed off to the energy of what was going on around me and to observing it. And then once I opened myself up, and, when Kendra came into my life and opened me up to those possibilities, I started learning that some of my very best friends are on the same journey as me. Not the same, it's different, but the same, they're exploring the same spiritual things. Or, I have an amazing aunt who's always been in my life, but I don't think I ever realized that these things were part of her life. And so as much as some of the relationships that I do have maybe become less strong, or we don't necessarily talk as much, there's other relationships in my life that have become greater. And when you can't let anything new in if you don't let something old go. And so
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So before I let you go, can you just give one quick piece of advice to all the listeners out there? If you could leave them with one thing, what would you want them to know?
Follow your heart, not your logic. Find your joy. Follow your joy. Nothing else in life matters if you're not happy.
Awesome. You know what, Nikki? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I love the Nikki that you've found and that you're working on becoming. It's been such a pleasure. And I know you and I have, we've worked on some battles, and you're winning, girl. You're totally winning. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks for having me.
No problem. All right, everyone. So those are our 3 guests. I hope you'll re-listen if you're just tuning in after the break or just now. Listen to the replay. I just want to remind everyone that following your heart, following your joy, not caring what other people think, learning the tools and how to not care what other people think is so important. Seeking out a competent source to support you, to help you, to mentor you, asking for help, believing in yourself, working on yourself is so important. I'm Kendra from Surprise Your Spirit. That's my business name, and that's the name of this show. You can find me on Facebook at Surprise Your Spirit. You can also find me at surpriseyourspirit.com. My email is kendra@surpriseyourspirit. You can also private message me on Facebook. I do have a YouTube channel where I do have some videos, some short videos that you can watch just about different things. And if anyone of the listeners out there, need help with something, or, need a friend or someone to vent off of, you can reach out to me. If there's one of the girls you have questions for, please email me or private message me on Facebook. I will put you in contact with them. I will forward your information to them. They are all willing to help and to discuss and to network and help you to build a community of support for yourself. So, with that having been said, I hope that it helps for others to hear what other people are going through at different stages in life and different ages. I mean, Bettina's 21, Nikki's 31, I think she said. Andrea was in her 40s. There, it can happen at any time, and it's never too early and it's never too late to step into your true joy. And again, you can find me at surpriseyourspirit.com or surpriseyourspirit on Facebook. And next week, I am going to have another guest. We are going to be talking about depression and the spiritual journey. Some of the experiences and challenges and how someone tapping into their spiritual side has helped them to defeat depression and overcome it, and how their life has changed with that. And so if anyone has any questions for Charlene, our guest, please email them ahead of time so I can ask her. I would like to thank you all for joining me tonight. Thank you for my wonderful, beautiful, amazing guests for coming on and sharing their stories so intimately. It's a blessing, to be able to help and share with others. And we will catch you all here next week, same time, same place. Take care.